approve a policy for what qualifies for that.
Yeah.
And if we want a dollar for dollar match, or if we want a 1 for 2.
Well, you've got existing revenue funding streams, so I don't think we've
On
done,
one side.
and on one side.
Right.
What we're looking at is new revenue streams being created in these communities that can go to benefit the resource center. And so that's what this matching money is to try to do, is to stimulate an interest and a willingness to do that. Because, a lot of times people don't want handouts. They want to be able to, have the resource to do it themselves. So let's see what the people do. And, potluck dinners, where they raise monies. We know from the Community Action Agency how we get all these funding requests, and they want us to fund like a community dinner. And we said, no, we'll pay for this, but if you're going to have a community dinner, don't you think the community would be the ones that would be interested in funding it instead of having it handed to them for free?
Yeah.
So
Good.
Yeah. I appreciate what you've done.
I would just add that when Tanya was a director at Westwood, she went to the bar there in Westwood, did a presentation, and she said it was so smoky she could barely see across the room. But they handed her a check for $5,000 when she left, and she was thrilled. So she go back anytime.
We better visit the bar.
But what we're saying, though, is that when you have that kind of a contribution made by the community,
Right.
then you bring that in, and now there's 5,000, so after your money's raised.
It's already raised, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Ms. Spencer, do you have a question?
I don't have a question, no, but this is a public hearing. I have a public comment.
I really want to get to the department.
I know you do, but if there was a man coming up here, you'd let him talk for 17 minutes, wouldn't you? Yeah, I've been keeping track of that. Yeah, I've been keeping track.
Okay. We're going to put on to as soon as you got to bed.
Here's our contribution. Every year, County Help goes through your budget, and we take 48 of your line items. And this year we did that, but we also did a really close look on 8 of the line items. Communications, membership, office expenses, postage, professional services, IT, special department expense, travel, and conferences. And in those budgets, we found, and it says a few problematic increases, but you can see there's like 7 pages of overfunding that we would like you to look at, because you do this every year. When you do overfunding, and this isn't an unusual practice, I've seen it in lots of public budgets, but the main reason you do it is to show, or try to attempt to show the public that you don't have any money. In fact, you do have money, you just put somebody that doesn't use any postage, you put $50,000 in there. You put somebody that doesn't go to any conferences, you put $10,000 in there. And when we look at that every year, this year we decided just to give you 8 that were really bad. So anyway, that's what we're giving you today. Also, we did you have in here a budget for $137,000 for retiring debt. Is that what it is? Retirement of long-term debt. You have $137,000 on your budget, 1701. And what County Health's been doing for the last 6 months is collecting data on your LCPIC account, your certificates of participation that originally you borrowed in 1989. And I also have a handout there for that, so you can look at what I'm talking about. Mr. Egan claimed on several meetings that the county paid this debt off in 2007. and I think Mr. Pyle unfortunately agreed with that. That's not the case at all. We've done a quite extensive research on this and have filed a report on the activity from 1989 to present day. There's a lot of problems with not telling the truth about paying these funds back, because I think what's going to happen now, you're going to allow him to do the exact same thing with this $4 million. It stays off the books. It stays undercover. You don't talk about it. You don't report it at the meetings. So we're going to watch that $4 million even closer than we watched the $6 million that apparently you didn't pay back, and then you sort of paid back, and so we don't know if you paid it back or not. Mr. Egan was in charge of this, and $5 million of the $6.9 million was paid to unassigned vendor. And we can't find out who you made the checks to. You don't do things like that. Prior payments were made to U.S. Bank. They were very transparent, and they're trackable. Unassigned vendor is it's more than problematic. You don't know as a board if that money was paid back, who it was paid to, and I think it was disingenuous because he was involved with it from day one, and it was handled so inappropriately. We have all the documents now. We were able to get all the documents except for 88 and 89. But the story is there. And you have, as a board, you should and must make him accountable for that $4 million that you're never going to see at a board meeting. You're never going to see any report at the board meeting. And it's, you know, if I had a set of balls, you'd let me talk another 10 minutes, wouldn't you? I'm not done yet.
Well, you've had well, but you've had 5 minutes.
I know I've had more time than you normally allow a woman. So thank you very much, and I hope you look at the paper that a lot of time was spent on where you've overfunded things, and I hope you take a look at it.
Thanks for telling me how to do my job, but I don't know.
I'd love to.
Would you like that?
Balls?
No.
Do you have a set? Keep
Okay,
it.
we'll quit right there.
Oh.
Mr. Bird, did you have anything from the office?
Well,
Thank you, that was good.
okay. If you have any specific questions, I'm happy to respond.
So did you,
It's a
anything different than what Richard's put in the,
No.
Nothing different?
no.
Any other department heads have any comments to make on the budget before the board is here, decides what we're going to do? Last chance. Mary's your tax collector.
We're happy with the budget.
Everybody's happy, okay.
I have a question.
Question from
And,
Mayor.
you know, I asked one question, there's been the IT, direct IT increase throughout. Now, is that considered in the revenue at all, is coming back on the backside of the revenue side, or no?
It all goes into IT fund,
The 104.
the 104 fund.
104,
Yeah.
It's in tab 2.
Thank you, Julie.
tab 2.
Yep.
Budget 1071?
It's numeric. It's after
It's 104.
after 101 general
104
reserve.
0322.
Yep.
That's the expenditure in it. Or are you asking about the revenue to the general fund?
Yeah, because that's what, because it's lined out on the expense side, so that
Right,
people
so
can collect it back.
if we look at the revenue to the 104 fund, which is in tab 1,
Page 4.
Yes, so, yeah, thank you, Julie. If you look about the middle of the page, there's a interfund revenue direct billing to departments of $790,000 as a revenue.
Do you have a budget unit number on it?
I'm sorry.
Page 4.
It's in, I'm sorry, tab 1. I said tab
Yeah,
tab
it's-
1, and it's page 4 of the revenues.
So the revenue by fund. Page 4. What's it called now?
It's 104, 0322 is the funding budget unit, right in the middle of the page.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
So I've been looking for that, I couldn't find it.
Okay. Time to make a decision. I'm pretty much happy with Richard's budget. Except one thing.
It sounds like there's going to be some adjustments to this. If this money in October comes, then
Well,
how would that be absorbed into the county?
If I may suggest, and maybe I'll just make some general comments about the budget. First of all, I appreciate every department head in the county really came to the process in a cooperative manner, and I appreciate that. I wish Dean was still here. He's one of the foremost ones in Stacy probation. But the document represents a compromise, I think, on all parts. I don't view it as being, a document that should just be written in stone for 12 months and then we start over. I think that as things change, and they will, over the next couple of months, we should revisit them. If the funding that Supervisor Chapman was discussing earlier comes to fruition, I think there's an opportunity there to deal with some issues. As we move into our new building, I think there's the same opportunity. We may find we've left something out or we don't need something. So if it's the board's desire, I would recommend, this is my recommended budget. Make changes to it, great. I would suggest that regardless of what we decide today or next week, that we revisit this as we do annually in the middle of the year, December, January, and make adjustments as necessary. With the understanding that it's not a perfect document. I would like to offer them to work with the departments for creative ways to create more efficiencies that don't.
Because I'm not entirely convinced that the one-stops have any chance of raising this matching fund.
Let's try.
We'll try,
We're
I'm
willing
all
to try.
for it. I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
And put everybody to work doing it, so I'm willing to try that. I just want to
Okay.
prove to you that we're never going to be self-sufficient.
Well, we know that, and I see the value of the one-stop in Pearl, and it's really critical that we keep that up and
They're all
going.
critical.
They both are, yeah.
Beyond critical, and you guys well know I supported you from the mark
Right.
alone, not
Yeah.
my discretionary money from the mark, so and I will continue to do that,
And we appreciate that.
yeah.
As long as the chamber has to account for their money in matching funds, that would be nice too.
Okay.
Not a bad idea, huh?
And I want to say, Richard, you've done a great job, and I'm really pleased with the budget you put out, and the department heads are working with Richard and all that. One issue I do have, we got Hand Lake Valley Recreation Authority spending $1.3 billion. And we can't even give $143,000 from the deputy DA, which I believe is very important to have again, and not wait until we see if we need it. I think Stacy is just overwhelmed with that for various reasons. It's not that Stacy's not capable, but she just doesn't have the help. And I would like to see that put into the budget today. And if you have to take it out of Hand Lake Valley Recreation Authority, then do so. I think it's extremely important, and I'm sure we can find money somewhere to do it.
I think that, as a supervisor, your constituents, all they care about is that their 911 calls answered and the roads plowed. And part of that 911 scenario is the DA's office. And I think we're behind the ball there.
Well, I think Stacy really wants to get in and jump in there and do a good job, not that it appeared that the bird hadn't already, but I mean, things have changed a lot since Bob was in there, and they continue to change, and, I think we need to give her the tools, which is money, to, you know, move that office ahead, because it's gonna continue to get worse. I mean, Route 47 is just one small part of the, so if Richard, if you can work that in somehow, I would appreciate it.
Okay. I don't think it'd be a good idea to take it from the Honey Lake Valley.
No, I was just kidding.
Okay. That's just simply because those commitments have already been.
But that's already been committed and voted on. I don't think I said that, but Jim was out of the room.
Boy, you took that hook, line, and sinker.
And I guess just a kind of a follow-up question, are you suggesting that we find money to fund both the attorney position and the investigator?
No, just the deputy DA.
Okay. Okay. And you'd like me to do that right now?
I can do it for you.
Okay.
Mrs. Spencer, you have not been called on. I would appreciate it if you don't interrupt. I don't care if your hand's up. You've already spoke to the board on the budget.
There's $2 million in the paper I gave you.
Your paper is in the recycle box already. So
The $2 million is still there, Bob.
if you can't be quiet, I'll have you removed from this room. I'll ask you one more time, do not interrupt this board and try to stop this board from conducting the public business, because I will have you removed if you continue to do that. Mr. Chapman has the
Yeah,
floor.
I just would weigh in on, I was going to, when we got to this point, also indicate that I'd like to see us fund the extra deputy district attorney position. But I think as far as the investigative portion, I think we should try to, at least for the balance of this fiscal year, use contract services to augment your full-time investigator you already have. And we're not really funding a full position, because if, with the budget being approved now, it takes time to get set up. You're not going to be flying the position for another 30 days. You go through that process. The earliest you're going to have anybody able to come on board and be there physically in the office would probably be January, would be my guess, would be the earliest. So we're really only talking about the balance of the year. So it's really
Half a year.
Yeah, half a year rather than a full year would be necessary to fund it. But I think I do like, the idea that what you're wanting to do to reorganize. I mean, I have been a long time concerned about. I know when you had the office before, I mean, for many years, the funding basis for the DA's office, I'm talking about going back to the 70s and 80s, where all these, I call them hokey grants that the state had, but it was their way of keeping control on what the department did. So you really worked more at the behest of this bureaucracy in Sacramento, the Attorney General, whoever it may be, rather than for the local folks. And just like with the veterans, I mean, it's not that we can't nest the veterans with Health and Social Services or some other department, but at some point in time, it's about what we want for us, with our people, with our money. And I think if we do wind up getting the tax relief under Senate Bill 107, and we see that property tax adjustment made to the magnitude it could be, given the fact that we've been changed all these years, I think being able to fund that position, I think is something that is capable for us to do. And I think, with the truancy and other things you talked about, I think those are all good things to pursue, but you got to have time to do that. And hopefully we can generate the community partners so that they're contributing towards funding some of that extra cost in the long term. So just kind of like with the family resource centers, where you have, the partnership or the matching kind of a thing there, is if you're able to kind of get this thing launched, then hopefully when we're talking about next year's budget and subsequent years, you're going to be coming to the table with some additional funding to support the fact that you have this position. So I'm willing to give you a chance to do that.
Okay, you got 2 votes. Richard?
Mr. Chairman, if it's the board's desire to do that, I would recommend that we calculate the amount that we required for the 6 months of the position, and appropriate a transfer from the general reserve of that amount to the 130, to the appropriate budget unit, the 130, budget unit and reduce the general reserve contingency accordingly.
Yeah, that 400,000 would be reduced by whatever. But and the reality is, if SB 107 is signed, and that's between now and October 1, you're going to have a chunk of change that you're going to be dumping into that general reserve, because we're going to have to figure out what will be the priorities for spending that in the future. And so I think offsetting that would be, at some point, we'll have ability to backfill that.
And I will just make one more note. The public defender has indicated to me that there's this prorational issue. The more prosecutors you have, the more public defenders you need, because there's more charging and so on.
Well, tell her to get lined up for next year.
Yeah, we may be seeing a request from the public defender.
Yeah, that will come next year after she gets a chance to get the ball rolling.
Okay, let's, I think, satisfactory board's all in agreement of adopting this budget with that change added in the deputy DA. And I think we can close the public hearing now.
Well, so I don't have that dollar amount calculated, but if we could round it maybe to 70,000, is that?
60.
Can I
60?
suggest what we do is, because of the numbers there to run a crunch, it doesn't have to be done today. We have next week. We actually have a couple weeks. But I would rather that we do is, given the decisions that we've kind of come to conclusion now, is bring back the documents to actually adopt everything at next week's meeting, so we have the right numbers and not just rely upon staff
We're only
to.
talking about it.
But that is the only change that I'm aware of, right? Is that?
Let's do it today, Jim, be done with it. If we had a whole list, 20 items, yeah.
60,000 would
We got one
cover 6
item.
months.
Julie's already got the number.
Yeah, Julie just shot the number out.
60,000.
Council, the
It
process is
was
to close the public hearing now.
143,000 for an
Didn't
investigator
vote on it.
and a deputy DA, so 60,000 is more than.
We were calculating those at 9 months, being what we were talking about, the realistic time frame that we would be able to go through the interview process and get the budget passed and move forward, so that was part of the
So
140.
we add $60,000 to the 130. 0431
Yes.
budget unit, and add a transfer from the general reserve of that amount and a reduction in the contingency of that amount.
So the 400 would go to 400 would go to 340.
It's a $20 fine, I don't know.
$40. Okay.
Once you make it 60,000, she can.
I don't think Everett would approve of that. Okay, I think Mr. Barron, it's appropriate for me now to close the public hearing,
If you'd like to, you have that ability, yes.
and then we'll vote on the resolution.
Yes.
Okay, we will close the public hearing at 4:54.
Didn't answer the first time, what do you expect?
Okay, the public hearing is closed, and I will take the recommendation of somebody to make a motion with that one change, and what's on the agenda here. Adopt resolution establishing appropriation limits in the amount of $29,938,000, blah, 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 blah. Somebody want to make that motion?
It's important that we enunciate the action request because it does contemplate the establishment of the countywide tax rate.
Correct, but whoever wants to make the motion,
And I'm sorry to be a stickler for detail, but perhaps we'll just bring it back to the board meeting. The creation of the position or typically would require another board action.
That's true.
To that.
That would have to happen later, but the budget can be done today in anticipation of that, because you're not going to be actually filling the position until January, so you've got,
We'll come back to the board.
you
meeting.
got 3 months to get that part done.
okay, satisfy your...
Yep, I'm satisfied.
Council, are you happy? You smiling?
I'm happy.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the 2015-16 budget with
It's on this right here. You gotta
the
sign it.
resolution.
Yeah, it is all on here.
That's on the agenda.
Yeah. It's adopt resolution establishing appropriation limit in the amount of $29,938,408,000 for
fiscal year 2015-2016 pursuant to California Constitution, Article 13B and Government Code 7910, approving the 2015-2016 Lassen County budget and setting the 2015-2016 tax rate. That's the motion.
The appropriate change.
With the correction that added the deputy
I
DA.
thought you said the first line, but that's okay. With the appropriate change for the deputy DA
So 60,000.
of 60,000.
And one additional deputy DA position, right?
What did you say?
Well, no, the
We'll come
FTE,
back.
we'll come back to the FTE discussion.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion before we vote? Mrs. Spencer, keep it fast.
I have nothing to say.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling on me.
Okay, well, thank you for putting your hand up. Okay, with that, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll of the board?
Supervisor Chapman.
Aye.
Supervisor Outlaw.
Aye.
Supervisor Hempel.
Aye.
Supervisor Hammond.
Aye.
Chairman Kyle.
Aye. 5-0, great, that's
I
the motion.
did that for Mr. Eno.
I want to
Thank you.
thank everybody, the staff, the budget committee meetings, it's been very good, and the public, their comment, including you, Mr. Spencer, and the May Chairman, everybody, thank you, it's been good.
Before you adjourn, you pass out articles from today. Like those of you that you guys might find interesting.
Oh, that's the,
Anyway, so our ground is a 500 year long
500 years, you have a drop in.
scientists and the trees.
That's what you heard this morning. What?
Just figure it out with
I didn't hear you. Yeah. Momentum. But you came with that Of course.
You're not at the table.
Thank you. As I almost gone. Yes.
Yes,
My relationship with
Hey, what happened? Who's hot? How come? One team won and one team lost. All right. Jonas?